How's it going, everyone? I am back with another video. This is going to be my Week 8 picks video, where just go through all the games, break down my thought process, predict who's going to win, all that good stuff. So I'll just dive straight in here. So I got only my second Thursday night game of the year wrong. I'm pretty sure at least. Got the Dolphins wrong week 2. Picked them to beat the Bills. That was obviously turned out to be a disastrous pick. And I picked the Vikings to beat the Rams. So obviously that was wrong. I had a gut feeling, kind of a gut feeling that the Rams are going to win. I make an article for every Thursday game. I post it on my website. I'll link that in my description after I post this video. But in that article I kind of talked about how I think it's a coin flip game, and I would not at all be surprised if the Rams win. I honestly, I don't think I like directly said it in the article. I kind of, my gut was saying Rams, but I picked the Vikings, and of course it kind of backfired. But whatever. That's okay. I'm doing a little bit better with my picks here. Always sure enough, 0-1 sucks. 1-0, it's such a nice start to start 1-0 compared to 0-1, but that's okay. But diving straight into the game, first games here, we got Ravens and Browns. So definitely going with the Ravens in this one. Oh boy, Cleveland. Jesus, talk about a disastrous season. I had high hopes for the Browns. I know a lot of people did, and they're just a dumpster fire right now. Ravens are red hot. They turned off 0-2. People were like, what the hell is going on with the Ravens? They've won 5 in a row. Derrick Henry's been getting it going. Lamar's been getting it going. Had arguably the best game of his career against the Bucs last week. Derrick Henry's just been torching everyone, running the ball, stiff arming people. Just the Browns, their offense has been a disaster. Obviously, Watson's out for the year. They're going to give Jameis Winston the start in this one, which I honestly think there's two scenarios. Their offense could look better under Winston, or Winston is going to be turning the ball over like he did when he was at the Bucs a lot. So, uh, out of those two scenarios, I would probably say the turnover scenario is more likely, but I could see the Browns actually having success in this game offensively, especially because the Ravens defense has been very hit or miss this year. It has not been that great. Against the Bucs last week, they had a couple blown coverages. They've had stuff like that all year. They had that game against the Bills on Sunday night. They looked phenomenal, but besides that, they didn't. They even really looked that good all year. That Cowboys game, they looked good up until that fourth quarter. The Chiefs game, the score is not going to indicate it, but they kind of got torched. It felt like the whole game. So the Browns could have some success on offense. I don't think schematically they're going to be doing anything like significantly different with Winston in there compared to Watson. So obviously they don't have much film on Winston with the Browns. So that might be difficult to prepare for, but schematically, I don't think you're going to have a big difference for the Ravens preparing. Um, Browns defense, though, has been pretty good this year, pretty underrated just because the Browns have been so bad. So maybe if they win this game, somehow the Browns, it's going to have to be their defense and their offense. That scenario I talked about their offense getting it going. I just, I find it very difficult to believe the Browns are going to win this game. I feel really confident with the Ravens. I say 98% of people in my league have picked the Ravens. So, oh boy, Brown defense could have a decent game, but I think the Ravens are just going to take care of business. Probably win this game by multiple scores. I'll say I'll actually say the Ravens have a kind of a not a down game offensively, but not like a game they had last week against the Bucs. I'll say they put up about 24, and I'll say the Browns put up around 13. I'll say 24 is 13 final, something in that range. Oh boy, Titans and Lions. So I don't think I've seen a game in my entire life, at least that I've done pick'ems, where 99% of people are on one team. But that's the case here. I am certainly going with the Lions. I would be absolutely beyond shocked if the Titans somehow won this game. I I don't think much needs to be said about this game. The Lions are obviously the far better team. Their offense is better, their defense is better, their coaching better. Just everything about the Lions is better. I just their offense has been on fire lately. The Titans defense has actually been pretty underrated, pretty sneaky. So maybe the Titans defense can hold the Lions this game, maybe. But the Lions defense has been really good this year, and the Titans offense has kind of been a disaster. And they get Mason Rudolph in there. They they tried to start running the ball more. The Lions get a really good run defense. So if you force Mason Rudolph to pass, that's probably not going to turn out too well for the Titans. They just traded D Hop, so that's a pretty good indicator of where internally they're at, focusing on the rest of the season. Probably realize they won't be winning too many games here. The only shot the Titans have in this game is that their defense balls out. They get turnovers to go the way. That's the only way they're going to be able to win. The Lions are a good team. They're going to take care of business. They have taken care of business. I think they win this game by I would say at least by more than 2 scores. I'll say 31-14, something like that. I would be absolutely shocked if the Titans somehow win this game. I do think the Lions offense will have a good game. Obviously 31 is a good game, but maybe the Titans defense, maybe I could see a scenario at the start of this game, the Titans defense kind of comes up or comes to Detroit, plays well. It's like, okay, why is this game close? Then the Lions end up picking it up and just blow the doors off them. But regardless, I think the Lions comfortably win that game. So first interesting game of the week here, we get Cardinals and Dolphins. So pretty close to a 50-50 split in my league. Get 54% on the Cardinals, 46% on the Dolphins. I am going to go with the Dolphins simply because Tua is back. Obviously, the Dolphins are a completely different team with Tua starting compared to when he's not there. They've been getting it going it's overall as a team they've been getting going. Their defense has been playing pretty solid the past couple weeks, but in their offense has picked it up the past couple weeks ever since that Titans game. They've picked it up a little bit. They've been able to find success running the ball. But obviously with Tua back, I feel like if Tua is able to play a full game under the Mike McDaniel system, I feel like the Dolphins are always going to score at least like 17 to 20-ish. The Cardinals, I talked about it multiple times. They're kind of a sleeper team, but they're a really weird team. Like week 1, they looked good. They lost. Then week 2, they ended up blowing the doors off the Rams. But ever since then, it's like they look good, then they don't the next week, and vice versa. Just they cannot like string together 2 like complete games in a row, really. I guess they sort of did the first 2 weeks of the year, but even last week against the Chargers, they probably should have lost that game. They kind of got outplayed. Talked about that in my last video, my Week 7 recap video. Caught a couple fluky, I don't want to say lucky breaks, but couple fluky plays went their way, and they narrowly were able to win that game. So they probably should have lost that. There's some stat, I think Ryan Clark talked about it, where or maybe it was Scott Van Pelt. One of the 2 said it. It was on the late night show after the Monday night game. But it was the Cardinals haven't won like 2 back-to-back games in like a couple of years. I think like since 2021 or something like that. So obviously that's not very good. But yeah, this is a hard one to predict. If Tua wasn't back, I 100% would be picking the Cardinals. But Tua's coming back. I feel like they're at least, again, as I mentioned, they're at least going to score 17 to 20 with Tua. So I think Cardinals defense, they kind of got torched in the passing last week. They obviously held the Chargers to a lot of field goals. Cardinals defense not been great this year, been very up and down. So is their offense. Just very up and down team this year. Obviously, the Dolphins not been good, but I mentioned their defense has been picking up, their offense has been picking it up. They have playoff aspirations, and so do the Cardinals, but the Dolphins with Tua, or even though they probably got worse this season on paper compared to the last couple of years, they're still better than the Cardinals on paper. They're at home. Kind of a must-win game here. You really do not want to fall to 2-5. You get Tua back, so the vibes are going to be good. The morale is going to be good. Probably going to be getting Tyreek and Waddle involved. So, morale vibes good there, which I actually made a trade for Watt on one of my leagues. I kind of want to stay away from Moose. He's super hit or miss, but I kind of needed some bench options. So I traded Neighbors for Brian Robinson and Waddle, which I have Jefferson and more. So I kind of could afford maybe a slight downgrade or inconsistency at wide receiver. And what it allows me to do is it helped me put Rachaad White in my flex spot instead of having to play a guy like Kirk or Sutton every week that like usually only scores a couple points. Friggin' Sutton scored 0 the last time I had to start him. So everyone in my league was mad at me. I made the trade, but that's okay. My team's 5-2, so I'm doing pretty good. I'm supposed to win this week, but anyway, let's go on a fantasy rant there. But yeah, Dolphins. Yeah, their defense has been playing pretty good. They could get torched in this one. I don't think their defense is really that well coached. Obviously, Kyler can cause any defense issues. So yeah, Kyler can cause any defense issues. Cardinals offense really hasn't put together like a fantastic game since like the Rams game. They played pretty solid in the Niners for parts of it that game. But yeah, they can run the shit on the ball with James Conner. He's been a beast, and Kyler, obviously. So they could kind of torch the Dolphins' defense. They could put up some points, but I think the Dolphins' offense is a really good game. They're obviously have the capability of being really explosive with Tua and Waddle and Hill and Mike McDaniel calling the plays. Obviously, they really haven't been outside week one. Even week one with those guys, they didn't really look good for a good portion of that Jags team. They were able to be down 17. Then they got that Travis Etienne fumble. They didn't really have too many explosive plays in that game. But I think Dolphins, if the Cardinals win this game, I definitely think it's close. They definitely could. I probably think this is like a 60-40 confidence split for me. But the Cardinals win, I think it's going to be within one score, probably like 3 or 4 points. I'm going to say the Dolphins win this game. I'll say 27-20, something like that. But I'm going to pick the Dolphins win, and I'll be surprised if the Cardinals win. That should be a pretty good game. Oh, speaking of good games, just kidding because my team's in it. Yeah, going with the Jets in this game. I mean, we are just terrible. Offense, defense has been solid the whole year for the most part, but they played really bad the past couple weeks. Obviously, we cannot. Last week, we could not stop the run against the Jags to save our lives. Get that like fourth down stop we got late in the game. Offense has been better, obviously with May in there, but started off red hot, then just got stagnant up until the fourth quarter there. So I don't really know what to make of it. I don't think it's May's fault. It might be Alex Van Pelt, just bad play calling. Obviously, you get Polk dropping passes. Just we get a lot going on. Just we're a bad team right now. There's a lot of turmoil, just bad vibes going on. It seems like with us. And then the Jets, it's don't like they're much in a much better spot than we are. They're 2-5. We're only one game worse than them. But the Jets, I mean, have been in the past couple games they've lost. We really haven't, besides that Dolphins game that we should have won. I'm still beyond pissed about that game. But I mean, the Jets have been playing some good teams. Obviously, the Steelers are a good team. They were up in that game. Then they ended up allowing 31 straight points, I think. And then obviously the Bills, I think they outplayed the Bills, probably should have won that game. They didn't. And then the Vikings, obviously they're a good team, even though now they've lost 2 in a row. They just lost Darius off of the year on a play. They were just gonna run out the clock too. That sucks. But obviously the Vikings really good. Were undefeated at that time. Nearly came back in that game. And then the Broncos, who that looked like a super bad loss originally, but now the Broncos are very sneaky, underrated. They're a respectable team this year. So Jets have been. My point is the Jets have been getting some losses, but it's been the good teams and they've been right there. Obviously, you need to string together some wins and actually win games. But the Jets are more talented than us. Their offense is better. Their defense is better. Just when we played them week 3, they dominated us. We had pretty much no offense outside of one drive we had in the third quarter. We just really struggled that game. I just probably see it going like this again, except I think our offense will be a little bit better with May playing. I'm going to say the Jets win. I'll say 20. I think this might be a bit of a low. I'll say 21 to 24. I'll say 20. I kind of want to say 1 and 4 both. I'll just say 24, and then I'll say May gets us. I'll say May gets us 14. 24-ish 14, something like that. I could see us getting 17, maybe even 20. The Jets getting around 27. But regardless, I think the Jets are. Do you know what? Actually, I'll say the Jets. They scored 27 and we 27-17. I'll say that. If we do win this game, though, I mean, it is possible. We're at home. It's always weird when you play division rival in general, but especially in the short time span. We played them week 3 of Thursday, so not too long ago. So it is kind of weird when you play a division rival that close to when you played them the first time. So maybe we have that going in our favor since we got our asses kicked and lost that one. But yeah, we could pull off the upset. I could see it, but I'm gonna go with the Jets there. Falcons, Bucks. So this is another close to a 50-50 split. I'm honestly surprised slight majority is on the Bucks here with their injury. If the Bucks were healthy, I definitely would be picking them. They had Evans and Godwin. But unfortunately, those guys are out. Obviously, Godwin's out the year. Evans out up until their bye week, Todd Bowles said. Falcons are just coming off a bad game. They just kind of were out of sync against the Seahawks last week. Obviously, big division game here. Whoever wins is going to be in first. But the Falcons are obviously they're healthier and just they're going to be looking to bounce back, and so are the Bucks, obviously. But Falcons offense, I think the Bucks defense has been not. It's kind of been pretty shitty the past couple weeks. They've given up a bunch of big plays, a bunch of points, kind of uncharacteristic of Todd Bowles. Allow a lot of points in his defense back-to-back weeks. I can't talk. Especially, there we go. My freaking throat is killing me here. But yeah, their defense has not been playing too great. Falcons offense obviously torched them. That Thursday game they played a couple weeks on. You know, as I was just saying with this game, Jets and Patriots, these two teams played even more recent than we did. So that's going to be hard for the Falcons to win over the Bucks twice in that short time span. The good thing with the Bucks, obviously, you would prefer if Evans and Godwin were there, but maybe the Falcons don't. I don't want to. I don't want to say don't like prepare as hard, but maybe underestimate the rest of the Bucks receiving core. They just go into the game with the mindset of, well, Evans and Godwin are both out. Like, yeah, they're probably gonna have a rough game passing the ball at least. But they still get some guys. They get Sterling Shepard. He's been pretty underrated. Obviously, hasn't really gotten involved that much. You get McMillan in there, and why am I blanking on the other? Trey Palmer. Obviously, Trey Palmer hasn't been playing that much, but those guys can probably string together a good offensive game, not consistently, but you know, just one game probably at least. Bucks are probably going to try to run the football a lot more to account for missing those guys. So probably Bucky Irving, Rachaad White. They've been getting Sean Tucker involved. Probably a lot of carries between those guys. Obviously, Rachaad White's a good PPR fantasy guy. He gets a lot of check downs. He's a good passing back. Probably get that game going. But yeah, I'm just gonna go with the Falcons here. I don't want to overthink it too much. The Bucks are missing their top two guys. The Falcons are gonna be looking to bounce back. Obviously, so the Bucks. I mentioned that already. But Falcons defense, not really last week, but it's been pretty solid. It's been okay this year. So with the Bucks guys out, I think the Falcons defense could have a good performance. Falcons offense, I don't think they'll play as good as they did Thursday game a couple weeks ago when these two teams faced. but I think they'll be able to probably put up at least a 24-ish. I think the Bucks will maybe I could see a scenario where the Bucks offense just has a disastrous game where it's like Jesus, like yeah, they and then Otton, that's obviously another big guy. He had a couple of insane catches last week. But I feel like the Bucks offense is a scenario where they either look bad and say, Jesus, like yeah, they are really missing Evans and Godwin, or there's a scenario where they just kind of play surprisingly well. But I'm gonna say the Falcons win this game with a score of around 24. I'll say 24 to I'll say 17, but I kind of want to say 14 at the same time. I'll say 17. I'll say 24-17. I think this could see a scenario where the Falcons win by more than one score, but I'm going to say one score here. I also do see a random scenario where the Bucks could win by more than one score, even though that doesn't make much logical sense, kind of just a gut feeling, but I'm just going to go with the Falcons in this one. Packers Jags, kind of an interesting one. Jags been playing better football the last couple weeks. They're coming home from London, obviously a big win over us. Not that it's extremely, uh, like they beat one of the better teams in the league. Obviously, we're dog shit this year, but they were able to get the run game going, pound the shit out of the football, and Tank Bigsby. So flying home, coming off a good win. They were down 10-0, so turned that game around quick. Nice morale booster for them. At home against the Packers, you get a chance to beat a really, really good team. Their offense has been getting going. The Jags, Brian Thomas has been a beast this year. Obviously, I mentioned the run game. They got that going with Bigsby last week. Jags defense has had a couple games where they've looked pretty solid. So maybe I think this has the potential to be a trap game for the Packers. On the road, you coming off a huge win against the Texans. You've been getting it going. Offense is getting it going, cleaning some things up. Jordan Love, obviously, his rust is probably gone by now. Packers defense has been balling out this year, going against the 2-5 Jags. So this could be a trap game because the Jags have the potential to just win any game against a good team. We kind of saw that with the Texans a couple weeks ago. They get a lot of talent on that team, just have not been able to string some wins together, some good performances this year. So it could be a trap game. I do see a scenario where the Jags offense kind of is a good game and the Jags defense has a good game. I'm going to say the Packers, these are the games at the same time the Packers usually take care of business. Like Matt LaFleur usually, at least that I can remember, avoids the trap games. He just takes care of business. So I'm going to say the Packers offense has a fairly efficient day and their defense has a good game too. I'll say the Packers take this game. I'll say 24 to you know what? I'll say 27. I'll say 27-17. I it would surprise me a little bit if the Jags won, but I wouldn't be too shocked. I definitely could see a scenario, but I am going to go with the Packers in this one. Colts Texans. I'm honestly a little surprised only 5% of people on the Colts, but I'm definitely picking the Texans here with the 95%. The Texans are obviously just the better team. Colts have been getting it going. They've won 4 out of their last 5. Yeah, they started 0-2, and they've won 4 out of their last 5. So that's obviously a good sign. But Richardson he has not been good this year. He's really struggled with completing passes. Obviously, he's been hurt. Joe Flacco, they looked a lot better with Flacco in the game. But obviously, you got to play Richardson. You can't bench your franchise quarterback. But yeah, the Colts offense it's not looked too great with Richardson in there. Week 1 when these teams played, though, the Texans defense kind of stopped the Colts offense for the most part. Just the Colts kept getting like a big time play, like on 3rd down or whatever, where Richardson had a couple deep bombs where they were able to score. So it looked like just from a scoreboard standpoint that the Colts offense like forced the Texans defense, even though the Texans won. So it's a little bit misleading if you just look at the score there. But yeah, the Texans offense has definitely been missing Nico Collins. That was very evident last week. Stroud only had, I think, like 89 or 90 passing yards or something like that. Definitely under 100. And they still nearly won that game. Joe Mixon just went off. They ran the shit out of the ball. But Colts defense has not been good this year. So Texans offense looking to bounce back, probably in the passing game at least. Obviously, I just mentioned they ran the shit out of the ball, mixing it 120 something, maybe 150 something, maybe that much rush yards last week. So maybe they do pound the shit out of the ball again. The Colts defense is bad in general, but especially soft in the run. They played good last week, the Colts defense, but they were on against Huntley, and then Tim Boyle had to come in the game. So obviously not top tier competition there. But yeah, Texans defense, I think, is probably going to clean up the mistakes they made week one when they played the Richardson and the Colts. And I think they're going to give Richardson and company a hard time. I think the Colts probably, I think they'll have a rough game offensively, probably score, I'll say between 14 and 17. I'll say the Texans score, um, hmm, how much should the Texans score in this game? I'll say, I kind of want to say 30. I'll just say Texans bounce back offensively, at least passing. I'll say they win this one 31-17. Kind of want to say 14, but I just think Stroud has a good game, good bounce back game. Colts offense just is a rough one. I could see the Colts upsetting them, though. It's not impossible, but obviously Richardson's going to have to do better with completion percentage and not turning the ball over. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Texans, though. Eagles, Bengals, so close to another 50-50 split here. We had a 55-45 split in my league. I'm going to go with the Eagles. The Bengals are favored by 2.5. That is a little bit surprising to me. I figured they'd be favored by maybe a 1.5, but 2.5 I was a bit surprised at. Yeah, the obviously 2.5 isn't like much different, like significantly bit than 1.5, but still a little surprised that it was more than 2. But yeah, the Eagles, both these teams have not looked good this year, obviously. Not looked great, I should say. The Eagles are 4-2, but they've kind of been winning ugly. Their offense has been putting up points, but it feels like something's missing. Their defense has been super hit or miss this year. Obviously, it was hit last week. They played really well. And then against the Browns, it played well too, but again, you're going against Deshaun Watson and the struggling the Browns offense there. But then, against like the Bucs, they got torched. They played well against the Saints, but I think the Saints offense after the first week just forgot how to play football most of the year. They got torched week one, so they've just very inconsistent defense. The Bengals defense has been playing good, but again, they haven't been playing top tier quarterback competition. They played the Browns and then the Giants 2 weeks in a row, or they played the Giants 2 weeks ago, then the Browns last week. So their defense has been playing well, but again, not great competition. Bengals offense started off on fire, with the exception of week one against us, and it's kind of been a little bit stagnant the past couple weeks. So, but they've been able to stag up 2 wins here, 2 wins in a row, get to 3-4. They're at home. I mean, they definitely could win this game. I'm not very confident with the Eagles at all. Probably think this is like a 50. I feel like in between 55 and 45 and 60-40 split for me. Probably like, I don't know, somewhere in that range. I just think Saquon's going to have a good game in this one. He's going to be a deciding factor. I think the Bengals' run defense is going to have a tough time stopping him consistently. And I think passing, though, I do think the Bengals defense could hold Hurts to kind of a subpar passing day. maybe have a good game plan for Hurts scrambling. Do think Hurts will have nice scrambles though, a nice couple scrambles that'll keep the Eagles drives going there. I just think Saquon's gonna have a big game in this one. As far as the Eagles defense, I see a scenario where they either ball out, like have a really good game, or I don't I don't want to say they get torched. I could see a scenario where they get completely torched, they ball out, or they kind of have like a mixed game. And I know that's basically only three scenarios, but I see all three of them as like realistic scenarios in this game. Oh boy. All right. My guess is either the Bengals offense has a really good game, nice bounce back game after kind of a stagnant last couple weeks, last 2 weeks. Look like the offense they did the first couple weeks of the year there from week 2 on. Or the Bengals offense, it kind of struggles a little bit. Like the past couple weeks, the Eagles defense plays really well. And then maybe like late in the Saints game, the Bengals offense kind of figures it out, gets some scores late, put up a respectable amount of points, but they end up falling short. Could see a scenario like that. I'm going to say that's what happens, honestly. I think the Bengals, I couldn't see the Bengals offense just kind of having a really good game, too. I think both defenses play well, both offenses kind of play subpar. I It's kind of how I see this game. I just think Saquon's going to be the difference, and the Bengals' run defense kind of been questionable all year. I think it's going to have a rough time in this one. I'm going to say, although it did when they played the Ravens and Henry, well, the Bengals were up big and they just refused to give Henry the ball. They just went super heavy pass mode. That's really the only time Bengals have played like an elite running back all year, at least that I'm thinking of, that I can think of. So, I mean, they sort of stopped Derrick Henry, but he didn't really get them any handles. Then obviously that big toss that set them up in overtime to get the field goal there. I just think the Eagles, obviously much different than the Ravens, or well, sort of, but obviously you get two mobile quarterbacks who stud running backs. But the Eagles are Kellen Moore tries to balance it out even when he's behind running the ball. And Todd Monken and the Ravens, at least this season, have just been super pass heavy when they've been trailing. So I think the difference is that Kellen Moore is going to call a good amount of balanced runs in this one. If he sees it's working, he's going to keep the run game going, keep calling run plays. So I'm going to say that the Eagles win this game. If the Eagles win, I think it's close. I'll say they win 20. I'll say 24-20. And if the Bengals win, I mean, it definitely could be closer. If the Bengals win, I honestly think they win by 10 or more. Maybe a bit bold, but I don't know. Kind of a hard game to predict. Could see it going either way, but I'm going to go with the Eagles. Saints Chargers. Oh boy, this is not going to be a pretty football game to watch. Definitely going with the Chargers. I mean, the Saints are just an absolute dumpster fire right now. They're dealing with injuries here and there and left and right and up and down and all over the place. They are just banged up everywhere, although they are getting Olave back. Obviously, that helps. But they are just a disaster right now. They've lost 5 games in a row. Their offense has looked horrible. Their defense has been getting torched. I guess that Falcons game, their offense played pretty solid and their defense played pretty solid. But besides that, their defense and offense looked horrible. Chargers are, I mean, the Chargers offense has kind of been mid this year. They obviously don't have like elite receivers, but the Chargers even's been really good this year. A game like this, I think I talked about it when the Chargers played the Panthers. When you play a struggling team that's not good, even though your team isn't like one of the elite teams in the league, most likely you're going to take care of business, especially when you're at home. So that's kind of Jim Harbaugh's mentality. So I think Jim Harbaugh definitely is going to have the guys ready, prepared to play, take care of business in this one. I think this is a low scoring game. I could see the Saints defense, I talked about how they played awful. I could see the Saints defense kind of having a good game in this one, keeping them in it. I'm going to say the Chargers win with a score of about 20 to, I'll say 20-10. I could see 20-13. Maybe Chargers put up 23, something like that. But I think it's going to be around that range somewhere. I'll say 2013. But yeah, I just think the Chargers take care of business in this one. They're probably going to be pissed off. They just lost that game to the Cardinals last week where they should have won. I talked about it a bit earlier. I was talking about the Cardinals Dolphins, but they probably feel they should have won. Going to be pissed off. Good bounce back opportunity at home against a really banged up and struggling football team. So I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints win this game, but it's not impossible, of course. Bills Seahawks. I'm interested. This could be an interesting game. Looking forward to it. I'm gonna go with the Bills in this one. The Bills are obviously they started off red hot and then they lost two in a row, nearly lost three in a row. They probably should have against the Jets I mentioned earlier, but they've won. They yeah, they've won two in a row now as they beat the Jets and then why am I blanking on who the hell they beat last week? Titans, that's right. Then they beat the Titans. Um, they sure have 3-0, right? Trying to think. Trying to remember off the top of my head. They played the Cardinals week 1, then Dolphins week 2, then the Jags week 3. So yes, they started off 3-0, then they lost 2 in a row, then they've won 2 straight. That's how they've gone to 5-2. This is kind of a hard game to pick. I'd feel better if it was in Buffalo, but in Seattle, an afternoon game. A game the Seahawks can definitely win. Their fans are going to be getting in this one. The 12 is going to be going wild in the stands there. Seahawks obviously coming off a really good game last week. They lost 3 in a row prior to that, so they very much needed a bounce back win. They're looking to contend in their division with all that uncertainty in it. Definitely division's up for grabs. So they're looking at winning the division probably, getting to the playoffs there. So big game for the Seahawks against they really have not. Their 4 wins came against the Broncos, which actually looks better than it did originally. Then us week 2. Yep, the overtime game. Yep, friggin' so pissed off about that one. And then the Dolphins they started Skylar Thompson that game, so that was just bad on the Dolphins. They just played horrible. And they were right there with the Lions, but lost. And the Falcons, that's definitely been the best team they've beaten all year. So maybe the Seahawks are going to stack 2 wins in a row against really good teams. Bills are probably a little bit better than the Falcons. You can make an argument the Bills are probably more than a little bit better, but I'll just say the Bills are a little bit better than the Falcons now, at least. But yeah, Seahawks defense could have a good game in this one. Their offense has been getting it going. They kind of struggled during their losing streak, but it was really good last week against a kind of a sneaky, not great, but kind of underrated Falcons defense this year. You're really hard. I just could see Seahawks defense playing good, Seahawks offense playing good. But I'm just going to go with the Bills. They're the better team so far this year. My gut's telling me the Bills defense plays good, kind of makes the Seahawks offense look like it did during their losing streak. And I think James Cook in the run game, I think the run game is going to be a big game in this one for Buffalo. Very hard game to predict here. I'm going to say the Bills win, but would not at all be surprised if the Seahawks win. Definitely on the road, I'm a little less confident. Probably like most people I see talking about this game are just picking the Bills without much hesitation. Me, I'm a little less confident. I'm going to say my confidence level is probably like a 60-40 again. So actually, maybe a bit more than that. Maybe a bit more than that, but I'm going to say the Bills win. I'll say 20. Hmm, I I'll say 27 to I'll say 27-20. Could see 24-17. Do you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say 20. Oh God, I don't know if I should do 24-27 for the Bills. I'll say I kind of want to say 24-17. Oh God. I'll say 24-17, but it's definitely gonna be like 27-20. I don't know. I'll say 24-17. Oh God, do I want to go 24-17 or I want to do 27-20? Oh God. Uh, okay, I'll just stick with 20. John, I'll say 24-20. Why not? 24-20. Bills. So this is a really hard game to pick. Bears, Commanders. I'm narrowly picking the Commanders with the assumption Jane Daniels is playing. If Jane Daniels does not play, I'm picking the Bears. It looks like Daniels is gonna play in this game. Even if Jane Daniels doesn't play, I think the Commanders still could win this game with Mariota in there. Obviously, he looked really good last week. Bears are coming off a bye week, so they get an extra week to prepare. So I can't remember off the top of my head who the Bears came off of who they played coming off their bye week last year. But I remember 2 years ago they came off. I'm pretty sure they came off their bye against the Eagles. That was the you guys remember that was the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. They were the probably the best team in the league that year. You know they lost to the Chiefs, and the Bears were just kind of a disaster that year. Their defense was a disaster, and their defense balled out against the Eagles. Really gave them a tough time, and the Eagles won, but it was like a very ugly win. This is bothering me, so I'm gonna look up who the hell the Bears played out of their bye last week. Um, let's see here. Um, so yeah, they played the Lions coming out of their bye week and last year, and they won 20-13. The Lions only put up 13. Now I remember it's coming back to me a little bit. So, oof, the Bears coming off their bye week with a history of Matt Eberflus having the team play well, especially his defense. Obviously, the Bears' defense has been balling out this year. Really good defense. You can make an argument it's the best defense in football. Their offense has been getting it going. Except the Bears' 4 wins, they really have not beaten a good team either. Came against the Titans. Obviously, Titans are a disaster. Then who the hell did they beat after that? Titans. Um, okay, why am I get up? I can't believe I'm blanking on this. I feel like a freaking idiot. Titans. I know they beat the Rams, but they beat some team before that. Uh, oh, it was the Rams after that. So okay, so the Rams. That was when the Ram. Even though the Rams were still good at that time, they were just beat to hell. They ended up winning that game. So sort of impressive, but obviously Rams on at full strain. Then the Panthers, they blew them out, but obviously the Panthers just a disaster. And then the Jags, who were kind of a disaster this year too so far. So they need if they get this win, that obviously be the best team they've beaten all year, at least up to this point. The Commanders have been kind of some people did see before the season expected the Commanders to be a good team. They predicted them to be kind of a sleeper team. I really did not see it. They really surprised me this season, or have surprised me this season. Their defense has been playing better the past couple weeks. It was a disaster start to the season, but it's been playing much better the past couple weeks. So I do think the Commanders' defense kind of has a good game and makes the Bears' offense kind of, I don't think look as bad as it did the first couple weeks, but not as good as it has been the past couple weeks. Um, so I think the Bears probably will score around. I think this is going to be a low scoring game regardless. I'm going to say the Bears score around, I'll say Bears put up, I'll say 20. I'll say 20. I could see 24. If Jane Daniels plays, it's really hard for me to say and predict if the Bears defense is a really good game and balls out, especially after the bye weeks I mentioned, or if Jane Daniels just balls out and the offense balls out. Maybe a mix of both. my guts maybe tell me right now that Daniels is in there. The Commanders' offense starts hot, and then the Bears' defense, as the game goes on, kind of clamps down. And Commanders are able to move the ball throughout the game. Or wait, how do I describe this? They start off hot, then kind of stagnate, but like don't stagnate to the point where like they're not able to put points up on the board. I guess is a good way to put it. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh God, this is a really tough game to pick. I'm gonna go with the Commanders. I'm gonna say they put up. Oh God. Uh, I'll say 20. I'll say they put up 23, 24 points. What did I say for the Bears? 20 points. I sent it up to 24. Obviously, that wouldn't work out with my commander score. I'll say the Bears scored 20 or 21, something like that. Commanders scored 23, 24, something in that range. I think we get a good mix of defense and offense from both teams. Really looking forward to this game. Obviously, you get the first overall pick versus the second overall pick, the top two picks playing against each other from this year's draft. But again, if Marcus Mariota starts, it's definitely possible that he'd still win the game, the Commanders. But if Mariota starts, I'm going to switch my pick to the Bears. Bears could win even if Williams starts. Really hard game to predict. Oh boy, really hard game to predict. I'm going to go with the Commanders though. Oh, here's talk about an ugly game of football. Panthers and Broncos. So this has low scoring written all over it. Um, any game with the Broncos is going to probably be low scoring. Well, even though the Panthers defense has just been an absolute disaster this year, the Broncos offense has actually been picking it up the past couple weeks. So maybe the Broncos do have like a fairly good offensive game. But I think Bryce Young starting, I think this is going to be, which I completely forgot to mention my last year that Andy Dalton was involved in a car crash. I just remember seeing the headline. I didn't read anything about it, but I think that's it was like significant enough where Bryce Young's going to get the start. I completely forgot about that. So when I talked about it in my picks video last week, I was under the process that, or the, not the process, the thought assumption that Bryce Young was starting because of performance, which I'm like, all right, that's kind of a little weird. Dalton is one bad game. They just bench him again, but okay, I guess so. But obviously, I think it's more so that Andy Dalton can't go because of his car accident. But anyway, hopefully he's okay. But Bryce Young, I think this is probably going to be an absolute disaster for the Panthers offensively. We saw what Bryce Young looked like coordinating this Panthers and running the Panthers offense first couple of weeks. Maybe I could see a scenario where he plays a little bit better. Maybe the Panthers offense looks good. It's like, okay, Bryce Young, like he has learned some things from Dalton. Panthers offense doesn't look horrible. It looks like serviceable. Bryce Young doesn't look god awful. I could see a scenario like that. And then as the game goes on, the Broncos defense just clamps down. Panthers starting opening drives have been pretty good. So they come in with a good opening script. So maybe the Panthers have a good opening drive in this one. But I just think the Broncos defense has been really good this year, really stout, really aggressive. I just think they make Bryce Young have a really bad game, a really long game, a lot of blitzes, a lot of probably incomplete passes, trying to beat the blitz, probably force him to a turnover, maybe, couple, maybe, get some sacks, a lot of pressure on Bryce Young in Denver. Uh, Denver is kind of, I just kind of the gut feeling. Denver is just the better team. Their offense has been getting it going. Their Panthers defense has been a disaster. You get Bryce Young in there. The Panthers defense, the Broncos defense has been playing really good this year. I'm pretty confident with the Broncos. Can't believe I really just said that. Broncos, if they win this though, like they should, they're going to be 5-3. That is not many people had that, including me. So they're surprising. I think they're in the playoffs right now. The seventh seeded. The season ended now, which is wild. But I'm going to say the Broncos win this game. I'll say 20. I'll say 20 to 10. 20 to 10. Maybe 23-10, 23-13. I don't think the Panthers score more than 13. I could see the Broncos scoring up to maybe 27, something like that. I'll say, do you know what? Yeah. Eh, I'll say 23-10. Yeah, I'll say 23-10. Kind of want to say 27 or 23-13, sorry. Do I want to say 27-13 though? Oh God. Do you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'll say 27-13. But yeah, pretty confident with the Broncos. Chiefs Raiders. So definitely going with the Chiefs in this one. But my thought process when I first saw this game is I really do not think it would be like as surprising as some people think of the Raiders did win. I would be a little bit surprised, but both games, the Raiders and the Chiefs played last year, the Raiders played them well. They beat them on Christmas Day in Kansas City, and Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a pass for like, I don't think he did the entire second half, if I remember right. And he went like multiple, like real life hours without completing a pass, like 2 hours or something, like an hour, 51 minutes, something insane like that. And they ended up winning. Uh, so that was surprising. And then I think they were up 14-0 in the middle of the second quarter, I want to say, when they played them the first time. That was like a couple weeks after Antonio Pierce was named the interim head coach. And then the Chiefs ended up kind of putting it in gear. I think they won 31-21 or something like that. But 34-21, something like that. But the Chiefs ended up scoring a bunch of points, and then the Raiders scored late. But yeah, but my point is the Raiders played them pretty well well, they beat them one time, and then the other games I just was talking about, they played them well for a portion of it. And so the Raiders, a division game on the road in Vegas. The Chiefs usually don't fall into the trap game scenario, though. They usually take care of business in games like this. Obviously, I'm predicting them too. Obviously, the Chiefs are the better team. They're Even though their offense has not been good this year, it's been better than the Raiders. Their defense is obviously better than the Raiders, even though the Raiders defense is pretty sneaky this year. I like the Raiders defense and Patrick Graham. Um, they got D Hop. It seems that I got a notification earlier that D Hop might be in a couple package plays, might get him involved, but it's not like I don't think it's gonna be like a full workload for Hopkins yet. I just think, honestly, kind of two scenarios. I could see the Chiefs offense just clicking into gear, really having a good game, put up 30 plus, or the Chiefs offense looks like it has pretty much the whole year. The Raiders defense keeps them in it, plays a pretty solid game. Chiefs score around 20, something like that, 23-ish. And the Chiefs defense just balls out, really struggles, or makes the Raiders offense struggle. And yeah, it's kind of hard to predict. And then I could see a scenario where the Raiders just surprisingly shocking most people. Maybe their defense balls out. Uh, I mean, I think the start of this game, I could see the Chiefs getting an early lead, then just holding it most of the game, or it's going to be low scoring. The Raiders defense is going to be forcing punts. It's going to be the Chiefs offense just not clicking again. I think it's going to be low scoring to start. It's either that or the Chiefs take an early lead, maybe go down the field, score a touchdown on their opening drive, take control of the game, hold the lead most of it. Or I do see a random weird scenario where the Raiders offense just not logically it makes much sense, but just kind of a gut feeling. The Raiders offense has a really good game. This seems like the type of game where the Raiders might just run some crazy plays, like trick plays, maybe a flea flicker or something like that. 'Cause, they're 2-5. Their season's trending in the wrong direction. They're back to Minshew. Aiden O'Connell broke his thumb last week. Back to Minshew. You're 2-5. You're playing the undefeated back-to-back Super Bowl champions. You're at home. They're 6-0. Like, honestly, what the hell do we have to lose at this point? Our season's going in the wrong direction. So maybe we can somehow win this game. Maybe we can get our seasons back on track. Statement win. stick it to our division rival. So it's like one of these games where it's like, what the hell? Let's just run whatever. We don't have too much to lose. Could see a scenario like that. Yeah, just a lot of different scenarios could play out in this game, at least in my head. The Chiefs are probably just going to take care of business, win this game comfortably. And people watching this video will be like, this freaking guy's an idiot. But yeah, I guess. I mean, I just can't predict the Raiders to win, though I could see a scenario where they do. If they do win, though, it definitely is in one score. I really don't think they beat the Chiefs in more than one score. I'm going to say the Chiefs win. I'll say 20. Again, I don't know if their offense is going to get back on track. Could see a scenario where their offense gets back on track, puts up 30 plus, or it just looks like it has the full year. I'm going to say the Chiefs win. I'll say 20. I'll say 27 to. I'll say 27-13. But again, a lot of different scenarios. Would not be completely shocked if the Raiders end up winning, as crazy as that is to say. Cowboys Niners. A little bit surprised that the picks are this far apart. We get a 21-79 split here in my league. I'm going with the Niners. The Niners are obviously banged up beyond belief. They have Super Bowl hangover written all over them. I talked about it in my I think in my tiers video. I mentioned my first ever YouTube video that the Niners have some Super Bowl hangover signs that I'm a little bit concerned about. And now definitely those signs are exhibiting themselves with all the injuries. So obviously Ayuk's gone for the year. Deebo Samuel, let me look it up actually. I assume he's good to play, but it's just an illness. Let me look it up here. Is Deebo George? Oh yeah, George Kittle is questionable too. Deebo Samuel questionable. Honestly, as crazy as this might be, even if both Kittle and Samuel are, I'm still going to stick with the Niners. Just the Niners, they take care of business in prime time. They own the Cowboys, at least the past couple years. The Cowboys are just obviously they're coming off a game they just played absolutely abysmal, got the doors blown off of them by the Lions. But then they obviously did have the bye, so they did have the bye, right? I'm not losing my mind. Well, I have a feeling like they played. No. Okay, yes, they did have the bye last week. Not. It's just the Niners just own them. They obviously have played well against the Cowboys the past couple of years, taking care of business at home, prime time. They very much need to get to 4-4. It's not like it'd be the end of the world if they drop this and go to 3-5. They dug it out of that hole in 2021. They were 3-5 and went all the way to the championship game against the Rams. But yeah, they're just at home. They take care of business at home, even though they're super banged up. Cowboys defense it's been awful most of the year. It's hit a couple good performances, but it's been awful. Kyle Shanahan is trying to put together a really good game plan against the Cowboys defense. The Niners defense has actually been playing pretty solid lately. They've been a bit banged up, but the Cowboys offense has not been great. But the Niners defense, I think the Niners defense plays pretty well in this one. I think the Niners offense just gets it going. They have a 49ers game where it looks like the 49ers were used to, even though they are banged up everywhere. I do say scenario the Cowboys defense could play well, though. Obviously, those injuries to the Niners offense helps in that aspect. But I think the Cowboys offense is going to have a rough game. Coming off the bye, though, obviously extra week to prepare. So against a team that these two teams despise each other. Cowboys have lost the past couple, so obviously they very much want to win this game, get some revenge. But I'm pretty confident with the Niners in this one, even though they're as banged up as they are. I'm going to say the Niners win this game. I'll say 20. I'll say 27 to I'll say 27-17. I think the Cowboys probably have a couple good drives offensively, but for the most part, the Niners defense plays a pretty solid game. Their offense plays a pretty efficient game. Yeah, I think that score, I think feel fairly comfortable saying it's going to end within that range, not too far off, but I feel pretty confident with the Niners in this one. And the last game here, the Monday night game, so happy that they're back to one Monday night game that I cannot stand the two Monday night games at once. Hate it. Glad they're back to Monday night game here, just one Monday night game. So I don't know what the hell the Steelers have done to get what is this, their third home primetime game in the past 4 weeks? Like, or I shouldn't say I don't know what they've done because they've been pretty good, but three home games in primetime in the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks. That's friggin' insane. That's like something the Chiefs would get, like a Super Bowl contender would get. Steelers, make the playoffs. They're not going to be contending for the Super Bowl unless they go on like a very surprising run. But anyway, I definitely think this is a low scoring game. Steelers defense is obviously really good, been balling out all year. Giants defense, the Giants defense has been kind of a story the past couple weeks. They've been playing really well. Their defensive line, even though they got blown out last week against Philly, they caused a lot of sacks, got a lot of pressure on Hurts. Obviously, they did the same thing against Burrow 2 weeks ago. They've kind of been doing it all year against the Seahawks. Very evident there too. Russ looked good last week. Started off, his first drive was good, and then after that, he kind of stalled out, didn't look good. And then say, yeah, here we go. We got Russ in there. He's probably washed. And then he looked good the rest of the game from there on out. So it's good to see him have a good game, put a good game together. Had a couple of deep balls, or as Chris Collinsworth said about 400 times during the game, moon balls. A couple to George Pickens. But yeah, I think this is definitely low scoring. I think I had a 13 final. That's why I have 33 as my total points tiebreaker at the bottom here. Could see a scenario where the Steelers score maybe up to 27. Don't see beyond that really. Could see the Giants maybe putting up 17, but I really don't see much beyond 17, even though that's not many. Their offense just been very much struggling. Daniel Jones, again, the questions about is he even going to start? He is, but it's like, why did they pay this guy all this money? Oh boy, just yeah. Back to my point about Russell Wilson. I I think he looks okay in this game, but not as good as he did last week. The Giants defense is probably playing better than the Jets defense right now, especially their defensive line, the Giants. So just had a talking point and I'm blanking on it right now. What was I just gonna say? Jesus. Think, Nick, think. Yeah, all right, whatever. Giants defense, I think, plays a good game. Hold the Steelers to a lot of field goals. Probably don't allow too many touchdowns. I think the same for the Steelers. I think the Steelers defense plays better than the Giants offense. I think the Steelers defense is better than I said the Steelers defense is going to be put in the Giants offense. Steelers defense is going to be better than the Giants defense. I think is what I meant to say. I don't know. I'm losing my mind. Obviously, two good defenses, kind of two lackluster offenses, but the Steelers are the better offense and I think better defense. At home, prime time, they take care of business usually. I feel pretty comfortable with the Steelers in this one. Think it could be a long game for Daniel Jones and company. Probably Steelers going to get a lot of pressure, force Daniel Jones at some bad passes, probably throw a pick, maybe even more. I could see like a random game where the Giants get the run game going though. Like Tyrone Tracy, Singletary can maybe get it going here. But I think the Steelers offense, Russ looks okay, but not phenomenal. I think they do just enough to squeak out a kind of an ugly win. I said 2013. I'll stick with that. I think it's definitely going to fall in that range. Don't see the I think over-under is 36.5, I want to say. So that's obviously very low scoring. So I feel pretty comfortable with that score here there. All right, let me make sure I get all these games. Yep, got them all. Yeah, been doing a little bit better with my picks. I mentioned at the start of the video here. I'm in the 84 percentile. Not fantastic win loss. That couple weeks, like week 2, 3, a couple weeks that I just had awful picks, look horrible. And but I've been getting it going a bit past couple weeks, a little bit better. Want to do a little bit better, but whatever. I've been doing a little bit better. I just said better like 38 times in the span of 15 seconds. Yeah, so I got all the games, a couple of good games, a lot of games that can go either way. Um, I this game can technically go either way, sort of like this one too. The surprising might this game too, maybe. This game either way. This game can go either way. Feel fairly calm the Chargers. This game could go either way. This game can sort of go either way. This game would be a little bit of surprise, but wouldn't count it out if it can go either way. This game's a 50-50, or not exactly, but can go either way. We could pull off the upset. Maybe I'm probably just delusional. This is definitely can go either way. Yeah, really don't think Titans win this game at all. That'd be absolutely shocking. Don't think that can go either way. Maybe the Browns somehow pull off the upset, but I feel good with the Ravens. I'll take care of business there. So yeah, a lot of good games this week. Big fantasy week for me. Got to pile up some wins. The teams are floating around 500, most of them. One of them with 5-2 though. I think I mentioned that when I was talking about the Neighbors trade I made. But yeah, need a good betting week too. NBA is back on, so I've been I there was a free parlay or not parlay, but bonus bet LeBron needed to score 1 point. So that was I bet the max, won $20 off that. Then my couple other parlays I've fallen just short. Like Jaylen Brown needed 2 points in opening night. He didn't get it right at the end. Needed 3 the other night and he didn't get it. I would have won my parlays. So I'm like, Jesus. Had no luck betting in the NFL this season. I hope it doesn't transfer over to the NBA. At least the NBA, it's like betting every night. NFL, it's obviously only Monday, Thursday, Sunday. Then there's here and there a Saturday game, usually later in the year. And we get that Black Friday game. But anyway, pretty good week of football. I will end the video here. Celtics are about to tip off against the Pistons, actually. We look friggin' phenomenal so far. Celtics. But I'll end the video here. Thank you guys for watching. As I always say, good luck with your picks, your fantasy teams, betting, all that good stuff. But I will end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.